last week on the Nicoletti Show. So without further ado, let's welcome her to the show, Christina Welch. Thank you for taking time to come and sit down with me.
I think I'm a mover and a shaker, so I appreciate being here.
What are your thoughts on NAR and that whole ruling that came out?
It's going to make our agents a little bit better at their job. They're going to make sure that they're dedicated to working with a buyer. They're already signing listing agreements, but now we're going to have buyer agreements signed. And honestly, I think it should have been like that from the very beginning.
What would be your best advice to anybody that's a realtor that's either just starting, just coming into the game, knowing everything that you've heard about it?
You need to educate yourself consistently. You need to know all of the contracts inside and out. And since we do have contract changes coming down the road, you might have learned on NEFAR contracts, but now you're going to need to learn on the FAR Florida FAR contracts and make sure that you know them inside and out. There were 80 agents that started when I started in real estate, and by the time that the market crash had subsided, there were 12 people left standing. People still needed to buy and sell real estate. And so you have families that are growing, you have people relocating, you have retirement, and so that will always happen. So when people are saying, oh, the market's bad, the market isn't bad, you just have to figure out a different way to work in it.
What do you feel has been the hardest thing for you as an entrepreneur?
Everybody's dependent on you for your success. Because we are commission only, taking that leap of faith and making sure that you have everything running on all cylinders, because if you fail, everything else fails too.
You're the leader of the ship, and you really have to help guide everybody on what's next, and also train enough so that you're depending on them, because if something falls out of place, it's coming back on you. I actually have my own Al Nicoletti shirt.
Oh, I love
show.
it. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
On the back.
Well, I'll have to wear it on social.
There you go, exactly.
And then I'll tag you.
And we have a mug.
Oh, great. Thank
so,
you.
yes,
Awesome.
there you go. Now you
All
have
right.
coffee, shirt.
This is to all the people who are in real estate who are discouraged. Don't give up, because you can be successful in real estate as long as you put your hard work into it and make sure that you're doing everything you can, because at the end of the day, it can be a lucrative business for you.
There you go. Love it. We're going to leave it right there. Christina, thank you again so much for coming on the show. And
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Al Nicoletti Show. We are live. It's Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. I am ready for this episode today. And as you can see, we are live in person in the Al Nicoletti studio. And you know what that means? We are going to bring guests in the studio, because I'm excited to have them come in, take the time, and Bryce and Brylen are going to bring the heat with this episode. And if you missed any of the episode from last week, you got to go back, check that out. What a great episode that was. And you can find all our content on the Al Nicoletti Show. Scan the QR code. That is where you're going to find all our content, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, iTunes. Follow us there. And if you are always enjoying these episodes, feel free to share. That's the whole thing about this. We want to provide the value back to you in the community, and we know there are others that are going through same or similar situations that can really use the advice and use the help of people that are either just starting out in their journey or really just getting in the journey. So don't miss it. And I'm ready to do this thing. This is going to be another banger episode, so let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate. And we are always going to provide the best value to you in the game. The guests, the information, the nuggets, the things that you can't just get out there, right? It really takes sitting down with the guests and bringing them in the studio, bringing them online to provide that value to you on how you could take your company to the next level. Well, I'm excited to bring this episode to you live in the studio. You know, we don't do many of these, and anytime we do an in-studio session, it's a special one because we get to sit down, see face-to-face, really break things down, and I'm really excited that Bryce and Brylen get to come in the studio, part of the Anabasis Realty team, and talk about their journey Talk about what's working for them, how they're finding some of these deals, and a lot of the golden nuggets that people are really trying to find out when just getting into the game and what they would have done differently. I'm ready to jump into this. So without further ado, let's welcome them to the show. Bryce and Brylen, what's good?
Awesome, man. We appreciate it.
Let's go. Let's go.
Dude, thank you so much for having us on the show. I'm actually super pumped. Obviously seen your content for a long time, seen you at Jack's RIA for a long time. You may or may not know, but I've actually slid a couple deals your way in the past. We've done some deals whenever I was at Equity Pro before. So super excited to be on the show here today. Absolutely looking forward to having you on the journey up an entrepreneur's guide, maybe.
Ooh, down for that.
Future episode. We have a podcast as well. But just a little introduction to, who, Brylen and I are and what we do. I'm Bryce Ocepek. I am the Executive Vice President of Anabasis Real Estate Investment Trust here in Jacksonville and lead broker for Anabasis Realty. We do all sorts of different types of deals, from residential luxury to wholesale investments. We also raise capital and buy different investment products in our REIT, in our real estate investment company. And we currently are at a portfolio of 8 million assets here in Jacksonville. And we're super excited to continually be growing and working and giving back to the community, being involved and having fun in the process. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And Brylen, this has got to be a journey for you as well. I mean, for you both, right? Like this whole getting into real estate, being a part of Anabasis.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, it's been a lot. It's been fun. It's been a great risk that I'm glad I took. We started this about almost 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. I'm the lead associate at Anabasis Realty, and I also deal with some of the acquisitions that we handle on the REIT side of things. And I'm happy to be here, discuss everything that we've done, to go deeper, and we're excited to be here.
It's really cool too, how he even came into what we're doing now, because I remember we were actually living together. We were roommates here in Jack's Beach, not far away, and I was working at Equity Pro, and it was kind of like just one of those moments where I came home, closed a huge deal, and he saw what I had done and saw the dollar figure on the pay stub, and he was like,
"Well, here I could,
dude,
you
get into
this.
I'll
get.
It's a great story."
So, Bryce and I moved to Jacksonville after school. We were going to FSU over in Tallahassee, Florida. We both actually got licensed around the same time. I think you were 19.
I was 19.
19. Yep. I think I got mine a little bit after you, so I probably was closer to 20. But we both knew that we wanted to do real estate. And we've always kind of like pinged off each other too. If he does something, I always want to do it. If I do something, he wants to do it. But we want to do it better and bigger and stuff. And so one day he was working at, or not one day, he was working at this brokerage. It was a commercial wholesale company. And he comes home, and it actually really was kind of like the Wolf of Wall Street introduction, where, I'll say it was like 70 grand. And it was one check. And I was also doing residential real estate. And I said, you know what, man, whatever I'm doing is wrong. Because I think I've made like 20 grand in the past like 6 months. It was my first year. But as a first agent, I was like, we're the same age. Whatever you're doing is working.
Yes.
I will quit. And it was literally like, I will quit my job and come work with you. I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out because I trust you. You trust me. And it kind of started like that. And then we got our first office, and then I'll kind of let you take it from there.
Dude, I remember when we got our first office. Oh my God. It was in the Bank of America Tower. You've heard of Regus office spaces before, right? So it was like a shared office space in a Regus office. And I kid you not, it's like a closet. It's like it's like a closet. And we were in there. We had like 4 desks shoved in a closet. And I remember calling one of my buddies and got an extra whiteboard. Yeah. And we just put the whiteboard up. And we sat there and we looked at it, just a blank whiteboard, and we're like, "All right, we gotta fill this. Yeah. We gotta fill this." So we started. The first thing that we started doing, because I had been obviously working with another company that had different lead flows and processes and things in place. So we're like, we'll start with the basics. We'll start with Facebook. It's such a simple advertising solution. So started with Facebook, got a CRM integration, and started building our pipeline on these just very basic Facebook leads. And I remember we got our first got our first listing.
And we went together because we were so pumped. Like we rode together, did everything. Like it was our first deal. Did the appointment together. It was like we were fired up.
Yeah, we were fired up. Wrote it on the board, and it was like, okay, we're doing this. And they ended up not even. They ended up not even selling. But it was just the beginning. And then from there, we went continue those leads, but realized that obviously the cost per lead was so low, but the quality per lead was so low. So we were over 100 leads in a couple weeks, but nothing was processing. People are just looking, shopping on Facebook, not actually doing anything. So we switched campaigns and went with launch control. We were doing text blasting and going towards more of our off-market deals and things of that nature. We got our first off-market deal. I think that was O'Reilly.
It was O'Reilly.
It
was my first wholesale deal that you were teaching me. So I'll back up just a little bit. Whenever he came home and we kind of had that whole conversation about starting our own business, he kind of came up with the idea of, because in wholesaling, you're assigning the contract out to an investor who's going to do the deal themselves, or who's going to do the rehab, the project themselves. And in his mind, he was like, well, what if we had the money to actually do these deals ourselves, because the returns are incredible.
Yeah.
So then, fast forward to the closet story. We have the whiteboard and stuff. And then first listing didn't go through, but then we got our first wholesale deal, and it was O'Reilly. Then I had nothing. I knew nothing about wholesale. I was only doing residential at a big brokerage. Just getting people, families and people that want to buy their primary houses. That's what I was doing. So I was new to the investment thing, but once he kind of taught me that and showed me that, the sky's the limit with this, like there's no salary on this. There's no cap. You can literally make as much as you want. And it's just really what you put into it. So from that first deal, I was hooked. And after that, it just started rolling and rolling and rolling.
I think the major thing with that is that once you learn all the different sides of the real estate business, you're able to provide so much more value to your clients because of the different exit strategies. And that was why I built the company the way that I did. We have the fund, we have the brokerage, we have the wholesale side, so that whenever we have a lead, whenever we are processing our leads, it's not, how can we convert it in this way because this is the box that our company operates and this is our specialty. It's what is your issue and how can we bring the solution based on all the different exit strategies that we know and have, and then put it into the right box, and then it really just increases your conversion rate so much more. So that was really why we've had so much traction so quickly.
Yeah. So I got to rewind just for a second.
Yeah.
When you said Equity Pro, that brought back so many memories of deals that I was working on doing probates. I remember Ernest. Well, I worked on a probate deal with Ernest like four or 5 years ago. And I remember you guys were like crushing it even then and like getting in the messy stuff. And now it's like fast forward. I mean, now you got Anabasis. Now you guys are doing the deals together, working with the whole team. I mean, that in itself has been really cool to see. So talk to us a little bit about Anabasis and like what you all have like learned and what you stand for, because before I want to know about this, because I do want to do something different with you guys than I have done with other guests, which is really break down some really key questions that a lot of people don't ask. And we'll get into that. But I want to hear about the Anabasis story, about what do you guys do, deals you're going after, what you stand for culture-wise. I think that's really big as you've grown.
Yeah, I think culture-wise, really, the thing with our culture is that it stems all the way back to my father's early days in business. So he had a private equity fund that he did in South Florida for a number of years. In 2008, everything fell apart. He completely switched career fields. He went into shooting ranges. So in 2007, he founded Anabasis LLC and then bought and created Shoot GTR, the Gainesville target range in Gainesville. So that is what I grew up on, is going there, starting in 2009, going there, helping my father build up this range from 100 members to, we ended up getting like 3,000 members, full pro shop facilities, 13 ranges. It was a whole ordeal. We ended up getting voted largest outdoor shooting facility in the state of Florida. It was an amazing property, and Anabasis LLC was the owner of this property. And, you know, whenever I was leaving Equity Pro and I was wanting to start my business, that was the first big commercial deal that I had done after leaving, was selling his gun range. So, you know, we cashed out big time on that with an SBA loan to an investor. And, you know, I really wanted to kind of build off of that because we built so much value in that property, and I wanted to continue to build value in our other properties moving forward. Like he said, the 70,000 check or whatever that I got, that was the biggest deal that Equity Pro had seen. And whenever I saw the spread that you could make on some of these deals, I was like, man, you know, what's the spread going to be if we bought it ourselves? So that was where that idea kind of started flowing from. And I got a little deeper with my dad. I was like, okay, what is Anabasis? Like, why did you even come up with that? And so, you know, actually Anabasis literally translates to the journey up in ancient Greek. And there is a story, there is a book called the Anabasis, and it's the March of the 10,000 through Persia, and the Greeks conquered, you know, the early Persian Empire, and there is a war leader, Xenophon, in the story, and he believes in one God, and he warred over land and money. And I thought that was so fascinating. I was like, that's something that we stand for. We believe in one God. We war over land and money, and, you know, we want to be upstanding businessmen, right? We want to have the journey to bring people in with us, and the march of the 10,000 to conquer our enemies, and
because they were the underdogs.
They were the underdogs, but we want to build that team. We want to build that march of 10,000 and have you know, our solid foundation. And I was fascinated by that and wanted to keep that name. And that was the name that we ended up sticking with. And that's why our podcast is called The Journey Up, an Entrepreneur's Guide, because it's a play on our name, Anabasis. And I really think that, you know, building that as our core value of our brand has pushed it so much, because people feel like they can trust us, and I think they can.
Amazing. Brylen, what has been your experience as far as seeing the team growth in terms of the culture, team building, any type of activities you guys are working on, training,
right.
And just seeing that growth over the couple years?
So over the couple of years, it's been a lot of growth, and actually everything that he just said is kind of what I wanted to say, but he took the words out of my mouth. But it's kind of like, you know, in the beginning, like you said, we're the underdogs, we're taking the risk, we're taking the journey up, and it's just, you know, our backs are up against the wall, but we don't care because we want this so bad, and we want to succeed, and we want to be successful, that we're going to do whatever it takes. So recently we've just been trying to find like-minded individuals that want the same thing. I think also when starting a business with, you know, maybe a friend or family member or whatever it is, you want to have that trust too. Because it's like, I can trust Bryce with anything, and I don't have to question that. And I think that just what makes our culture so much better. And I can trust anyone else on the team too. It's not just us. It's like, hey, if you have my back, I have yours, and, you know, we're going to get through this together. As far as activities go, we're always doing little like marketing events, like at different bars and different restaurants and stuff. We'll have Brews with Bryce, or I've had a few where, you know, balancing wholesale and traditional real estate. We have a guy named Ryder on the team. He's a golfer, so we'll do him at Top Golf, you know, whatever it is, and just bring other people in the community that are in real estate, want to get into real estate, and just want to talk about it, or just connect. I think in real estate, that's just the biggest driver, is just who are you surrounding yourself with? What do your relationships look like? And are you continuing to try to make more and branch out? Because people are going to want to do business with people they like and they trust. And if you can, you know, be a fun, likable guy, they're going to trust you, and, you know, that transaction's yours.
Yeah. That's so true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to do business with who they like and trust.
Correct.
And that's what it comes down to in the relationships that you build. And I know another thing that you guys are really about is having the ethics and the honesty and the
100%.
Morals, right?
Yeah.
And that means that you're really surrounding yourself then with the right people, right? You're
100%,
you know, a word that I've been really about that the Sheehan brothers talked about was alignment. Alignment has been a big thing, right? So this all kind of accumulates into that one word. you're aligning yourself with the right people, right? So Bryce, talk to us about like what that looks like in terms of aligning yourself, finding those right people, making sure that they're on the same page with ethics and integrity.
So I'll give you a great example. Whenever I brought Ernest into the team from Anabasis and he was coming on board, we started playing with going after some auction properties, and we really needed to put in a bid on this deal because we thought that we had it on wholesale, but it ended up going to auction. We had to make a quick move on it, and we're trying to put money into the Jacksonville auction account, and it's just delays. The city, the account is just giving us headache. And I was like, Ernest, I need you to go to the courthouse and I need you to put in a bid. They're going to ask for a deposit. I think it was like $2,000 that they wanted as a deposit to be able to put in a bid. And all we could do was get cash. So I put cash out of the ATM and I handed Ernest $2,000 in cash. I said, go to the courthouse, put in a bid on this. How many employees do you have that you feel comfortable enough to hand $2,000 in cash to go take care of something, knowing that if that bid doesn't go through, it's going to come back to you? I think that is the basis of what your alignment should be with your individuals that you have on your staff. If you don't have every single person on that team to that point where it's like, hey, I can literally hand you, several $1,000s in cash right now, and I know that you're not going to take it from me. I know that you have my best interest in mind, because if I make money, you make money. And a lot of times on deals, if I see extra work going in or different things happen, I'll boost commissions. I want the best for my team, and I think Brylen even knows that. I genuinely want the best for my team. So if there's any way for me to give them an opportunity, I'm going to. So I think that's the most important part. And with starting the alignment from the beginning, I think goes into our interview process. It's like, hey, come in, meet with me. I'll talk to you about all the core values and the story of Anabasis. And then from there, if you feel like you align with those values, then you'll meet with Brylen or Ryder and one of the senior guys on the team, and then they'll do a second step and meet with you and say, okay, do you feel like you align with these values? And then start getting into the nitty-gritty questions and see, hey, okay, does this guy align with me to be on my team? Because they're going to be under his mentorship. So that's pretty much our process in bringing people in and making sure that they align with our values, ethically, morally, and also having drive in their work as well, because you can have the ethics and the values, but if you don't have the self-motivation drive to get up every single day and do the work when nobody's telling you have to, then you're not going to make it in this business.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. You got to have that high motor.
You do.
Right. I mean, I know I have that high motor every single day.
Correct.
And I expect that of my team.
Correct.
Right. And so you gotta go. You gotta have that drive. You gotta be willing to be a problem solver. Right. And that was something I started to see with the team, right? Over time, you start to learn about what the other team members are about, what they're doing, what their strengths and weaknesses are. And so when you start to really learn what that is, and then you start to say, hey, this one is really good on the problem solving side. Hey, this one's really good on the phones and they can do this, right? I love how eventually you start realizing your team is more like Swiss Army knives. They can do all these different things, and you start learning hey, this is what's good, but we all have to align with the same values. We have to align with the same goals and visions, right? And I remember even in my mid-20s, I know you guys are in the mid-20s, but I remember mid-20s, nobody was explaining this kind of stuff. Right. When it came to what to look for, what to make sure you're doing. I think intuitively I knew, in some subconscious setting, but actively now more than ever as a business owner, you have to be in that position to understand who those alignments are, whether personally or professionally. And I think that's amazing that you guys are really conscious about that, because that is something you got to do at an early age. And then you have to give to the others that come down the line, which is important.
And then And then you also kind of have to just set that expectation and lead by example too. Because it's like, if you're the one doing, if you're waking up early, showing up to the office at a certain time, and people are going to watch that follow suit. If you're out if you're out showing properties all day, then it's like, they're in the office. How can I, be that? How can I get out there too? It's just leading by example and showing people that this is how we do it, and we expect you to do the same thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
What about staying disciplined and having that consistency? Because I truly believe that in anything I do, I always want to be consistent at it. And and if I know I can be consistent at it, I know I can implement the discipline. And I don't just implement discipline, I implement massive discipline. Yeah. Anything I do, personally, professionally. Yeah. Right? So how big is that for you guys when it comes to your businesses and talking to your team members and all of that?
Very important. Extremely. I think discipline is so important because it puts you in a regimented schedule almost, like for me anyways. Outside of the CRM for leads and everything, I kind of give myself my own task list every day. And I've probably gone through so many notepads over the years, but I come in at my desk. I try to be anyways, always first one in and last one out. And that goes to lead by example, and come in, sit at my desk, get on my computer, have my notepad. And I have a rolling task list that I write down of things that need to get done as I do them, cross them out. As more things get added. And, at the end of every day, there's probably still a full sheet of things that I still have not accomplished, but going in there with the discipline every day of like, hey, I'm going off of what I've planned and I'm going to execute. And then at the end of my execution, whenever my stress level is through the roof, go to the gym, burn out that stress, go home and get ready for the next day. And I think that's really important. In business is, if you don't have your exterior stress releases, you're going to burn out, and then you're also not going to have as much motivation. So I think that's a big part of discipline is having your structure, your regimen, and accomplishing things regularly and being able to burn off stress after hours.
So growing up, actually, discipline was one of those words that, I'll be quick with it, but my grandfather, he is Duke graduate, master's, went then Virginia Tech. He was, I think, like the vice president of Rayonier at one point. But something that he always said to me throughout sports and stuff, because he loved coming to my basketball and football games, was just stay disciplined. And that was one word that he would always say to me was discipline. And I never really understood it until I got a little bit older, around like 18 and stuff. But I think discipline's good because it also kind of correlates with delayed gratification, where it's like we were talking earlier, how, you lost all this weight, you were going to the gym, you were looking for that delayed gratification. You knew that you were going to get to this certain body type, but you needed the discipline to go to the gym every day and show up for yourself. And I think that correlates well with the business too, where it's like, not every day is going to be good. You're going to have your weeks, your months where you don't feel like it just sucks. But are you still willing to show up every day and put the work in to know that, hey, I'm working towards something, that delayed gratification, and it's just, it's there, but and it sucks in the moment, but you have to do this because what you want is over here. And in order to get to it,
good things take time.
It takes all this. So that's kind of where discipline aligns with me.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about that, about how just everything just takes time. That's been a theme for a lot of the guests recently, talking about, hey, listen, a lot of people are impatient, but if you're going to jump into this, you got to take the time. You got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to make the mistakes. You got to be willing to get through the hurdles. Right.
And I think this kind of goes to like any other young entrepreneurs is like, I think in today's day and age, it's a little bit easier for especially us younger people to kind of get ahead, because I do feel like there is like this this mindset where it's like people our age want to try something for a few months and then they don't make $1 million, so they shift to something different and they're just going job, and they want to get, it's like, you're not going to make $1 million off, your first year. It's like, you're going to get kicked. You're going to get kicked when you're down. You're going to hate your life. You're going to debate on quitting, but it's like, don't quit, keep going. Once you get to that third, fourth, fifth year, that's when you kind of start to really, like, it's the snowball effect. It just starts to really roll down that hill and the ball just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. but I guess that's just kind of what I would say to anyone out there. Just start something that you want to do, and then just take it for a few years. Don't get down on yourself if it doesn't, happen in the next 3 months or so. It takes time.
It takes time, and you're going to see things that do work and things that don't work. And as you try different lead strategies, different business opportunities within the real estate sector, you're going to find things that work for you and things that don't work for you. The things that work for you, pour more into it. The things that don't work, don't waste any more time. Move out of it. And again, like he was saying, with social media and everything, I feel like so many people are like, oh, I want to start wholesaling. I'm going to start making 10 grand a check on everything that I do, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, hold your horses. Just because you see a couple of shiny videos telling you how you can wholesale a deal and make all this money doesn't mean you understand the cost factor associated with the leads, the processes and the teams that you need to have in place to be able to get deals done, and the splits and expenses. It gets really complicated, and you can't just start marketing other people's deals and daisy chaining stuff trying to get fees. I mean, you really need to do business the right way to have, like you said, that ethical standpoint where people want to continue doing business with you. So I think that's really important to have that expectation from the get-go. You're not just going to jump into it and see all this wild success. Right. It's going to take time. It's going to take discipline, and it's going to take trial and error. You are going to fail. You are going to fall on your face, but do you have the capability to get up and keep going?
Yeah. And I feel like you just gave advice to somebody really just first starting out, right? Like, I feel like that goes right into that, because there's a lot of people that want to get into this or are going to watch your podcast, going to watch this episode, going to watch the content and go, wait a second, just like you felt about Bryce, like, I want to get into this. I want to do this. Like, how do I get into this game? Or I want to make the $20,000 assignment fee, right? So it's like, that goes right into it. What would you guys say? And this is getting to some of the things that I think could be really good for people to learn. What would you guys say is the most important skill a real estate investor just starting out should really know?
Important skill that a first-time real estate investor should know.
You want me to go first?
Go first, yeah.
I'm gonna say, honestly, it's kind of a combination of two skills, but it's gonna be a little bit of a combination of your confidence and capability to talk and use your voice to not only take the deal where you want it to go, but also build that relationship. Because whenever you're working with a lead, you have to build the relationship with the client, but also know in the back of your mind where you want to end up with the contract and kind of back into it. So the other part, the other kind of twist on it is, if you don't have the knowledge, you're not going to be able to take those conversations to where they need to go. So that's the most important part, in my opinion, of investment real estate, is whenever you're talking to different people, if you know your game, you know your chessboard in and out, and you know where you need to go, but also having the confidence and the verbal communication skills and capabilities to take the situation and the people in the deals and move them on the chessboard to where they need to go, that is going to equal conversions on your deals.
Yeah. Love that.
I would definitely say knowledge too, because right after he said that, I'm just going back to year one of real estate where I wasn't knowledgeable on certain things and I lost deals because of that. I think the other thing too, I don't know if that question was like real estate investor or like real estate wholesaler. So if we're talking about an investor, I would say someone that actually, again, has the discipline to stick throughout the whole project, whether it's a flip, a rehab, a commercial, single family, whatever it is, because it's not just, hey, here's 60 grand to my GC, they're going to rehab it and it's all, it's ready. It's like, no, you're gonna have a headache in between then. And just know that, can I get through this, and do I have the people in place and the knowledge to get through it? That's I would say knowledge. Yeah.
I would say knowledge is the most important thing. I mean, you should always be learning and researching, always.
I've learned a lot of things about being on these probate consults, about where people are at in the levels in the years. And I gotta say, I think one of the most important skills is definitely going to talking to people. I think a lot of times they don't know how to rein in that seller.
Yeah.
Correct.
Like I just got off a call the other day where this guy could have kept going on for another hour. And at first I leave it to the investor to kind of rein them in.
Yeah.
But I knew they were just kind of getting their feet wet, getting in.
Yeah.
And I stepped in. I felt like acquisitions. I felt like a TC. I was like, all right, we need to wrap this thing up right now. Like this is how we're because I feel like if you're going to be in this, your time is valuable.
100%.
Every day. The more you block your time with these calls, the more deals you can pick up and the more volume you're going to get. So if you stay on that phone call, yeah, sure. If it's like $100,000 deal, I mean, maybe it's worth being on that call, but definitely goes to like learning how to speak with people, learning how to talk. I don't know if
to move them in the direction that they need to go.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, you know, dialogue training. It's like if someone has this, objection, it's like, okay, if they say that, I already know what I'm going to say next and where I'm going to take you, and then you close them. So yeah,
that's where the knowledge piece comes in. Once, so it's almost this combination strategy of knowing how to speak and move people in the direction that they need to go, the persuasion and the leadership capabilities in your voice, and then also that knowledge factor, because you can't push them to where they need to go unless you know where they need to go.
Exactly.
So,
Right. Yeah. And I'm even hearing it. I hear it on the calls. I'm like, I'm not even doing the game that you guys are in. I know what direction these people got to go.
Correct.
It's about solving the problem, getting through their pain points, getting down to it. And at the end of the day, they want a deal closed, and you guys do too. So definitely seeing that. Let me ask you guys this question. So being investors, you're in real estate, but really you're entrepreneurs, right?
Absolutely.
You're in business. What's been the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?
raising capital. I think especially in a market like this, everybody is holding tight to their money as hard as they can. I mean, banks are having super awful terms and they want personal guarantees on everything. People don't want to part with money right now. I think that's probably the hardest thing right now that I have dealt with over the years of doing business is getting solid partnerships and raising capital. But here's the thing, you're going to go through it for a long time of just, no. And then you find the one partner that we have a partner that we've aligned ourselves with. Once you find that partner, that well source, you better do everything in your absolute power and capability to make sure that everything is done correctly and they are given the returns that they are expecting, because if you do so, the well just starts to overflow and you have so much more capital raising opportunities, potential to go after bigger and better and, more financially sound deals. Mm-hmm. So I would say that's the most challenging hump to get over. But once you kind of make it over that hill, that's gonna take you to doing bigger deals like we've had the capability to do recently.
Yeah. And what are you doing to get more or find more of those? Like it's such a challenge. Like, are you going to more networking? Are you trying to talk to more people that know other people? Like, how are you overcoming that challenge?
So we did a few different things. We were members of the Family Office Club, which is a pretty well-known organization, but it's pretty much a club of different investors and entrepreneurs that are in like high net worth calibers. They're not just in real estate. They're in tech. They're in, different sectors. So we were going to events, networking and things like that. And also just putting it out there constantly, just like with your show. You know exactly what you're doing, Mr. Nicoletti. We're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing. Yeah. We're taking our deals and our capabilities. It's like, hey, check out this deal, and putting the returns out there on our platforms, reaching out to different, debt and equity capital sources, constantly doing research. Mm-hmm. And then whenever you find different, lenders or equity or debt providers and opportunities, even if they're smaller deals, it's like, hey, look at my book. This is what I've done. Mm-hmm. I've done this quad, this duplex, these couple single family homes. I'm building my book and showing you my resume of my capabilities as an investor. Mm-hmm. You want to take a chance with me on this 20 unit building. Right. And then it's like, all right, they're like, all right, maybe we'll give you a chance. And then that's what I was talking about before, proving yourself. So it's like, all right, here's the spreadsheet, here's the financials, here's the income and expenses, here's the GC that we're plugging in, here's our game plan and our attack strategy. You have to present a nice, tightly bound book of why you put money in, I'm going to make a return on it. And they're going to check every line item on it to make sure that it's going to be done correctly. But if you can accomplish that, that's what's got us into our capabilities to do some bigger deals recently.
Good stuff. Good stuff. What would you say is the hardest part?
So I think that was great as far as like the business standpoint, but I'll kind of touch on the personal standpoint, and I'll just go back to discipline. Like we said, I think just staying disciplined in this business is actually really hard. We're all human. We have some days, some weeks too, where like we're not getting any deals, haven't made any, pipelines not built up. And it's just, again, how can we stay motivated? How can we talk ourselves out of it? How can we stay on the right path together? How can we do it as a team? Because we even have days sometimes where, we'll come back and it's just like, man, that was rough. Or it's like, dude, I've lost out on 4 or 5 deals. Like, it's not all, rainbows and butterflies. It will mess with your mental sometimes. It does, because we're not on salary. We just make whatever we kill, we eat. So it's just, I think that's a hump in itself. It's just trying to get over, the pitfalls and just stay in the path. Really,
it's mental warfare.
It's mental warfare.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every day is a grind.
It's a grind. Yeah.
It's being a business owner is not an easy thing to do. And then you got all the team members that you gotta get with about things, and then you gotta think about how do we keep marketing this thing. It's like there's so many angles.
There's so many different things that go into it. Yeah, it's huge.
You're wearing 10 hats.
Yeah.
You're head of marketing, you're head of construction, you're head of acquisitions.
You're meeting clients.
You're meeting clients, you're doing deals, you're making sure you're leading the team and that they have what they need. You're running events. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Or we're on a podcast right
now.
Things could be blowing up right now.
I'm getting a call right now.
So you got to learn how to like put it all away, and it's like it's all these different steps that a lot of people are just not aware of, right? That you got to overcome. Another hot thing that people are really starting to get focused on is really leveraging software and systems, right? Because you can't do it just all in one little page and write it down. Like you guys started with the whiteboard, but graduated from that really fast, right?
Very fast.
What software systems are you using and implementing to help level up your business?
So we just recently got a new CRM that we really like. Like you said, we did start on the whiteboard. I actually had a notepad of like 5 pages. I would write down, first, last name, email, phone number, first, last name, email, phone number, last conversation I had. And then obviously, you get busier and busier and busier.
We go to Google Sheets.
Go to Google Sheets. We had spreadsheets where it's like, hey man, check the spreadsheet real quick. I put something highlighted in red. Can you just go over it for me? Sure. Yeah. Now we have, we've always used .loop for our contracts. I think that's a very good, robust system to have, agents that need an as-is contract, purchase and sale contract. Maybe you need a seller's disclosure form. It's all readily there and it's already filled out template-wise, and it already has each box. So, agents can go in there and just fill it in as they go. And we also use Follow-Up Boss for our CRM system, which it's a two-way integration with Zillow. So we use Zillow a lot too for a lot of our customers. So we just like to stay organized through that. We also have
.loop's cool too because it has the e-signature software built in, and then it also has the data sharing, which is so important. So like as a broker, I have to house files for 7 years.
And we just had some drawers in the back where that was
how it started. Up. We were doing paper files with like file baskets. And now we're into the all integrated cloud data solution. So they sign everything they put in the contracts. Once it's signed, it's in the loop. I don't have to, it's there for 7 years in the cloud. I don't have to.
Yeah.
And I think that actually is kind of like a cool way, again, anyone listening that maybe is starting a business, start, with the pencil and paper and the whiteboard. Oh, yeah. And then slowly get to, the system integrations of different softwares and stuff to kind of jumpstart it.
You got to stay skinny in the beginning.
You got to stay skinny.
You got to stay skinny.
But it was cool to see how we went from pen and paper to just now everything's just online and it's on a screen. And I feel that, we feel so much more confident and way more comfortable because everything's just right here on our phone. It's not like shit. Like, where's that piece of paper that I wrote her email
Yeah.
on? If I lost it, dang it. Like,
Yeah.
And Follow Up Boss is cool because you get like forwarding numbers, and you can put that on all your email signatures. When anybody calls that as your office line, it's logged in the system. You have the call recorded. You can make notes on it. You can set appointments. It's tied to your calendar on your email. So your email's tied to your CRM, which is tied to your Zillow, which is tied to your cell phone, and it's just one stop shop for everything. So it's powerful, and it has automations built in, so it'll constantly touch the customer on different things without you having to do it.
And I really like the fact too that it actually records the calls too, because it's like we can help each other. It's like, hey, whenever they said this, maybe you should have took them down this route, or maybe whenever this objection came up, you should have asked them this open-ended question instead. You know, kind of. You know, you can critique each other and stuff like that. So it just makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, I think having that CRM is so important, right? Like, especially what you guys do with deals and making sure you're following up with title company and what's the next steps. And did you get in touch with the seller? Are we ready to close? The seller doc's ready.
Right.
You know, just understanding like the process you're at. Is that warm lead, cold lead? Did you get in touch with them? Did you not? Like, there's so many people that leave these deals and opportunities on the table because they didn't have those follow-up processes.
Yeah.
So it's great that you guys have been implementing that. So many people should be doing that. And even on my end, you know, we kind of talked about it. Like, we use Google, right? With Google Drive and stuff like that, like, which has been great for organizing. But go into the technology. You want to talk about Dotloop. DocuSign's been a game changer. Adobe for sure in terms of whether we're editing things.
PDFs.
Oh my gosh. I mean, how many times do you have to edit PDFs?
Every
you know,
day. Every day.
Yeah, for forms.
Yeah.
And then another one, I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but notarize.com.
I haven't
heard of Notarize.com.
Notarize.com, really interesting. So if you think of about a form or something that has to get notarized, we're always thinking, what? Send the PDF or get a mobile notary.
Get a mobile
well,
notary, yeah.
there's ways that you can use a software where they can do it just through their computer. They just answer a couple questions, and then the notary pops up, and they do the notarization online. Like,
Dude, that's huge.
Is an actual person doing it?
It's like a Zoom.
Yeah, it's a Zoom.
For some reason, I
wow.
thought this was like a website where they're trying to kick out like the notaries. Like, hey, we don't have to pay y'all anymore. This is going to be integrated.
No.
Okay, I got it.
No. Like, actually, like a notary comes on and actually does the notarization with you, which is a game changer for us because we were so tired of like always in person or always having to mail things out. Like, sellers don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
These heirs don't want to go anywhere. So I love what you guys are talking about with implementing.
Every single construction draw that I get whenever we're doing our bigger deals, I have to have the draw notarized by like proving that basically the contractor has to sign this waiver that they're not like they've been paid. They're not going to put a lien on the property once we've done the construction draw. So they have to sign that and then notarize that. There's multiple draws per property, so I have to get crap notarized all the time. So that actually...
You might need to look into that.
There you go.
I need that.
Look at that, the benefit of coming on here.
I'm like running to UPS and like, can you notarize this real quick? And like chopping it in.
And
Dude,
it's
get on notaries. Yeah, we got to figure out this website
It's
stuff.
great. And you'll never believe, like, it's actually easy to use. Like for you guys, you'll get it. I mean, it's sometimes challenging for some people to get through the computer because not everybody has a computer with a webcam or an iPhone, but when you can get that implemented, it's just game changing. So check that out. You don't want to miss that. And if you're watching out there, you definitely got to check out notarize.com because Megan Harris talked about that on the Empora title episode about how they're doing deals and closing deals virtually. So that's another thing that you definitely want to check out. Guys, let's talk about some deals, right?
Yeah.
What kinds of criteria are you looking for in deals? Like, what kind of deals are you going after right now?
Get a little bit more specific for me. What kind of deals are we going after? In which pocket? Are you saying like in the fund side, like things that we're acquiring, or deals that we're looking for on the brokerage side that we're wholesaling and doing retail?
Start with the brokerage side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brokerage side, we're really focused in Northeast Florida. We have, like I said, Zillow and a couple other partnerships, so that brings buyers to us. And then on the wholesale side, we're really going after, probate leads, foreclosure leads. We're trying to kind of go in the road less traveled, right? Because I feel like there's so many people in the market in Jacksonville that are going after wholesale deals. And actually, probably all over the country. I mean, I've heard of people in Texas and California and stuff like that are marketing to try and do wholesale deals nationwide in Jacksonville.
Really?
Yeah,
It's kind of ridiculous.
The competition here, because of the low cost point, and there's a lot of competition.
Wow.
So what we're trying to do is kind of going on the outskirts, like, you know, Palatka, Middleburg, you know, World Golf, you know, outskirts of St. Augustine Shores, you know, maybe up in like Bryceville, Callahan, areas like that are kind of road less traveled. You don't have, you know, you're not pulling up to the house and there's 25 business cards on the door after the first Liz Pendants.
I think relationships too with other agents, sorry to cut you off,
No, you're good.
has helped a lot for us too, because especially once we've proven to them that we can close on these things. So we have a handful of guys that have been doing real estate for a while, and they know that, you know, we can make a closing happen, and they, you know, we call them feeders. So, you know, having that relationship with them to know that, hey, they're going to get a lead, and then they're going to come directly to us because they know that we can produce on it.
Yeah,
So
they'll
that
double
too,
dip it.
that too has been a game changer for us. It's just our relationships with other agents that maybe are getting leads in areas where, you know, you can wholesale this property, or you know, find it for a discount and we could rehab it or flip it.
Yeah, it's definitely been a big part of our business is relationships on our lead generation for like Brews with Bryce and different things like that. Just letting people know what you can do, because why are they going to come to you and bring you a lead or a deal unless they know beforehand, oh, this is something that Bryce and Brylen can take care of. If everybody knows about us and what we do and what we can take care of, then whenever they're presented with a lead or a deal or an opportunity, we want to be first of mind so that they come to us. So, like you said, a couple relationships.
And after the deal closes, get them a gift card to a nice dinner or something, so that, you know, they'll remember you again. And it's just keeping that thing there.
Yeah, relationships are definitely everything in this business.
Yeah.
And this real estate world's a lot smaller than you realize. So like it really goes a long way. The ROI on that is really huge. And I love what you're talking about with these other tertiary like ancillary markets, right? A lot of people aren't focused on that. And I talk about that at the presentations. Like I spoke at Jack's Ria and I talked about all these other markets, these counties, and we talked about this. Like, you know, everyone's
Clay County is awesome.
I love Clay County. The Clay County probate system's amazing.
Yeah,
like
awesome.
I know what's going on in these other counties, and like Putnam's great too, right? And so a lot of people are just so focused on Jax and just the very, you know, even St. John's, right? But like when you go to like Nassau and then Seminole County and Lake County and Marion County or all these other markets that people aren't focused on, like that's huge.
It's
so
huge.
I'm glad you guys are expanding out.
It's so important because, you know, that 1,200 square foot block house in Arlington that got a Liz Pendants, there's 25 people calling you the next day.
And 25 business cards in the front door.
It's just like, it's
yeah.
crazy. And, you know, everybody and their moms in 09, 06, they're in, you know, the main investment, you know, cheap submarkets in Jacksonville going after all the same deals.
But we grew up here, so we know where the bones are buried.
Yeah, you know where everything is.
I actually find a lot of value because there's still a ton of people on our list that are like, hey, I'm down for, you know, a mobile home in Middleburg flip, or I'm down for, you know, something with a little bit of land to flip out in Hilliard, or
which we've done a handful of. We've like I've made some of my biggest spreads on just some rink-a-dink trailer out in Middleburg.
Amazing, right?
Yeah,
just like
crazy.
that kind of deal, like just does well.
it does well.
Yeah. So keep focusing on that, because like I'm a huge proponent of people going outside of their market, which is why I made that big pivot in like 21. I was like, it can't just be Jack's. Like there's got to be. And so when you start doing that, like it starts expanding for a lot of people. That really helps a lot of investors and a lot of people just starting out, because they're just thinking go local. But think a little bit bigger, because the communities, the Facebook groups, that you'll find your buyers or find your investors. Everybody knows everybody in this industry.
If you have a deal and it's actually a deal, like the numbers shake out like it's actually a deal, it will sell. If you have access to social media and you have the gusto to find the different Facebook groups and put the deal out there, if it's actually a deal and the numbers are actually solid, it will sell.
Yeah.
the deal's going to sell itself.
Let me ask you this. So you said that was the brokerage side of the property criteria.
Yeah.
What's this other side? Like, what's this other side that you like getting into?
So for the REIT we're really focused on, recently we've been focused on value add deals, mainly multifamily. So, we've picked up a 6-unit in Springfield. We picked up a duplex in Brentwood. We picked up an 8-unit off Playaway in the Arlington area. We picked up a 17-unit beachside in Daytona. And we picked up recently a 24-unit building off of
Beach Boulevard
area.
Wow.
Kind of closer to
Brooks Rehab.
Brooks Rehab area,
Okay,
kind of close to Bowles.
okay.
So every single one of those multifamily assets that we've picked up, I kid you not, has been a piece of crap. When we did it.
Wow.
I mean, it's been poorly managed. Maybe it was drug ridden with convicts or people,
Bad tenants. Needs a lot of work. Low rents.
Missed payments. Yeah, holes in the wall. Everything.
So recently, actually, I'll talk about this deal because this is super, super interesting.
Yeah.
So this 24-unit deal that we just picked up, the seller was actually in prison while we were under contract with him. So
Interesting.
I've never had that happen before, but it was really, really interesting. So we're dealing with the property manager who doesn't actually have their real estate license, but has power of attorney for the seller and is like doing some shady stuff with these tenants. Money's going missing. There's all sorts of issues, tons of rehab needed. The guy got the property handed down to him by his dad, who built it in the 80s and left it to him. And he's in prison for like major federal fraud crime. And we're trying to we're given no information.
Yeah,
The listing
nothing.
agent's like, this is what I have.
I think they handed us the leases. It was like a piece of paper written on it,
it looked like a kindergartner.
Jim renting
crazy.
unit 1 for $600, and it was just this is one page, and it doesn't even have his last name on it.
You got to identify these.
So
people.
I mean, and the crazy thing too,
that's what we
is
want.
We were actually bidding against Brooks Rehab on this building, and
really?
Yeah.
So we knew, we're like, all right, this is a hot asset. Like we need this. This is major value add, huge stuff.
Not to cut you off, but whenever we first walked it, we never even got an executed contract until like a month and a half later. Mm-hmm. We didn't know what was going on with the seller. We didn't know he was in jail, and we thought the listing agent was just kind of throwing us through loops. I mean, we knew it was good. I was calling him every other day. Hey, where's the contract? Hey, where's the contract? And then 60 days later, we finally got it, and then realized that, we were bidding up against that hospital right there. We think it's a great spot for like a traveling nurse contract of some sort. No, I mean, we're excited for it. But what were you saying? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. We pretty much went after this deal with much higher expectations, right? That he said preliminarily. But whenever we got under contract and we lifted up the skirt, it was like, oh shoot, we've got some major issues here. And we only had a 21-day inspection period and a 30-day close. And you're on a huge commercial asset with a lot of moving pieces. So, I mean, you really have to be on your game, on your toes. I mean, you have to get every contractor in there. So we had to get plumbing in there, electrical in there, HVAC in there. Roofing. You got to get roofing in there. You got to get the inspection guys. So we have to get like commercial inspectors to come in, get inside every single unit. Getting inside every single unit is hard to coordinate when there's 24 tenants and half of them don't even know if they've paid rent because all of the shady crap going on. We literally had tenants coming up to us, are you kicking me out? I got to go work at Burger King, and like getting up in your face. And it's a whole lot. And then you're trying to like analyze the leases and the future income and put all these pieces together. And, you're on this deadline. So it's like, okay, we got to get this together as quickly as we can. The sellers are applying pressure from his side because he wants his money. I thought it was fascinating that, by the end of it all, whenever we closed and we got the settlement statement and we looked at all of the fees and everything that this guy owed in his criminal history, I think he only ended up with like less than half the money of the purchase price, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I mean, navigating deals like that is what we're looking for on our value add side of our strategy, because we know that we can bring in contractors and we can bring in rehab work that's going to boost the value like exponentially. But also we've got a good cost base on it because we've built relationships here in the community for a while. And I think right now with our current deal flow, as far as construction goes, I mean, we're only so many people. We can only handle so much at once with the deals and the construction, everything else. So I think right now we're really looking for something that's a little bit more turnkey, that's got maybe value add in the rent roll, but not too much rehab, or maybe a little bit of equity baked in from the get-go, but seller needs to move on something quickly, something along those lines where, we can still have a little bit of equity or value add to be made in the deal, but something that's a little bit construction-wise, more turnkey.
Multi-family with like some seller financing available of some sort.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I would say that's what we're looking for on the horizon. And I've looked at a couple of new construction deals where like they're currently in the process of construction and leasing, but you can't sell an asset like that to a traditional buyer unless it's 100% leased and they can get Fannie Freddie multifamily financing on it. So that is going to allow us to go in there and say, hey, we'll take over the leasing, come up with, cash or bridge or whatever it is, and we'll take over the leasing strategy to pick up this asset off of you, but you gotta leave a little bit in there for me to take this over. So that's a strategy that we've been looking at for kind of future acquisitions.
I like how you guys have been diversifying this whole portfolio,
Yeah.
right? On the brokerage side and then on the multifamily side and going for value add, right?
Yeah.
Like there's investors that we had Tom Barry on talking about how they've been going after shopping centers and they're going after the ones that have value add, where like it's not just the shopping center, but you can start adding all these other things on in the parking lot area, right?
Yeah.
Like there's certain things that you're looking for with your deals, and then you're at least having that diversification just in case the market goes one way or the market goes another, right?
Well, his dad is actually the one that kind of taught us that, the portfolio theory. It's kind of like having, a stock portfolio. It's like you want to have some of your money in real estate, healthcare, consumer products, insurance, gas. Like it's just,
all sorts of different stuff. You want to have a diverse portfolio. If one crashes, so that's why, we've done self-storage, we've done single family, we do multifamily value add. We're looking at, a little bit more, turnkey new construction multifamily now. So like you said, a diverse portfolio, and also same in the business too, a diverse portfolio. We're doing so many different things. We have so many lines in the water. You're waiting, all right, this one rings, boom. This one rings, boom. And then you're going where the deals are. You're not focusing on, hey, this is my box, this is how I have to operate. Because if that well dries up, I've seen it, and you have too. How many companies have we seen in the last couple of years that operated under one business model, and whenever the well dried up, whenever hedge funds stopped buying wholesale deals, what happened?
Oh yeah, it stopped. The music stopped. Absolutely.
So yeah.
So I think that's cool too, that we have, like you said, we do have 8 different ways where, if this one's dried up, well, now I got 7 other ways I can make some money. So I think just being diversified.
One thing some people don't talk about, and we don't really get into it on the episodes just because we don't have time, but I feel like this is a good one because we're right at the deal point.
Yeah.
They don't talk about the deal that didn't work out or was the worst deal. So for you guys, what was the worst deal you've ever had, and what did you learn from it?
The worst deal, as soon as you said that, it took me back to whenever I was at my first company. I had a transaction coordinator, and basically what a transaction coordinator is, if anyone doesn't know, is I was the real estate agent, so showed the property, got them under contract, et cetera, but then I just passed them off to the TC. They schedule the inspections, they do the appraisal, they do everything for you on the back end. And it was cool to have that because I could kind of just sell, and then take my hands away. But I got to a point where I had a handful of properties pending, and I needed to be in more communication with some of my buyers because my TC was swamped. So I had a deal that was, I think it was listed at $340,000. I was helping a buyer at the time. And he was from Russia or Ukraine or somewhere where there was kind of a language barrier in a way, but we understood each other enough to where I could help him through the process. But then the offer I had to write was a cash over appraisal offer. And I knew how to write them, but I didn't know how to explain them to people. So I knew that this guy only had a certain amount of money that he needed to bring to the closing table. And again, I'm going into conversation dialogue with this guy when my TC should have been doing it because I was started off in real estate. And I was basically telling him that he was going to have to bring 15 grand more to the closing table. And we were past due diligence, past inspection. We were supposed to close like next week. And so he's freaking out because he doesn't have the extra 15 grand. And if we have to cancel, I think we put like a 10K binder down too, because it was a multiple offer situation, did cash over appraisal. And this is kind of tying back into what we talked about earlier, just having that knowledge. I was going back and forth with him for probably 2 days and basically telling him the wrong thing and lost the deal. It would have been a nice commission check. But that just goes to show that like I wasn't educated or knowledgeable enough, and I just pissed this dude off. And there's probably some crazy review about me somewhere that he put, but that was, but yeah, I think just not knowing how to properly inform someone on the situation. And then after that happened though, I really took it upon myself to just learn everything I can, just so that way it would be a much easier process and I wouldn't put someone else in that position.
Yeah, good story.
I'm gonna go two different ones. I'm gonna go one on my brokerage side and then one on the fund side, because I think it's important to discern. So whenever I was first really getting heavily into wholesaling commercial, and we had this 8-unit building, and it was kind of in that tertiary market out in Stark. Ooh. So very interesting submarket. But it was a solid building. 2-story, 8 units, all 1-1s, occupied, cash flowing, needed a little bit of work, a little bit of value add. Got it at a pretty solid price. We had been marketing it for a while. But this one I had picked up on market. So typically, you try to stay off market with wholesale deals.
When was this?
Oh gosh, this was before.
Yeah,
this is equity, probably the early days.
Pre-Brylen.
Yeah, this is probably. Well, Brylen and I have been friends since the 6th grade, actually.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah, crazy. But man, this was probably 3 or so years ago. And we had been marketing the deal, and like I said, I picked it up on market, so it was already on, I think, the MLS or LoopNet or something like that, and got it at a good price, marketing it much lower than they're asking. Thought it was a good deal, and I still think it's a good deal to this day. And we had 2 or 3 different buyers that were like ready to move on it, but the way that we had operated at the company at that time was first come, first serve, right? Which I absolutely agree with to some extent in wholesaling, is first come, first serve to, make it fair and generate competition to get a deal done. But we had 2 guys that were ready to pay full price, put in the binder, $20,000 non-refundable to go after this building. One of them was cash and one of them was bridge financing. Which one do you think got in their deposit first and took the deal? The bridge financing. Yeah. God, I wish we would have just been like, hey, I understand we usually do, which is why you need to be flexible in business and say, hey, I know we usually do first come, first serve, but you're getting a loan that we don't know is going to go through, and this guy's cash. We should have just kind of switched it a little bit and be like, hey, look, I understand, like, we typically are first come, first serve. You guys are both putting on at the same time. This guy's cash. We're going to go with the safe bet. But we honored the rule of first come, first serve, took the guy with the bridge financing. Sure enough, he just drags his feet, is trying to use a lender that just cannot get their ducks in a row. So I'm stepping in and getting him with a better commercial bridge lender that I know can make things happen. And of course, whenever I step in, he's telling me, oh, well, I already paid for appraisal, paid for this and that with this lender. And I'm like, look, they're not going to get it done. I need you to go with this person. And we couldn't get it done with the amount of time that we had left to close on the contract, and he ended up losing the $20,000 non-refundable binder. So I did get paid a little bit on the loss of binder, but let me tell you what, whenever
Probably watching this,
A win's a win, right?
win's a win. But I'll tell you what, whenever it came time to try and call the other guys and be like, hey, guy that you were ready to pay full price cash, no, he's out. He's out at that point. So that deal ended up canceling, and we never sold it. So that was, I think that's a great learning experience for anybody that's in wholesale, and most people do operate on first come, first serve in wholesale. But I would say, it's definitely important to ask your customers, hey, what is your plan to get this done? What is your vet your buyers. Don't just start accepting deposits with the thing in your mind like, oh yeah, just because they're putting a 10,000 non-refundable down doesn't mean they know what they're doing and they're capable of getting this done.
Right.
Because if the spread's 40 and you're taking a 10 non-refundable and that cancels and you can't sell, you just lost 30 grand.
Yeah, you're out.
So I would say that's brokerage side, super crappy deal. I was honest about that.
Yeah.
Fund side deal, I wouldn't say it's actually a bad deal, but it's probably the worst one that we had to deal with in the beginning. It was one of our first acquisitions on Lexington.
Oh, that was the first one we ever did.
Yeah, the first one we ever did. And, it was a valuable lesson, but I think why it's so important whenever you're first getting into real estate investing to have a margin of safety. Have a margin of safety, please. Have a margin.
That was our first one. We were just got trigger happy, I think, and
we really liked the deal, but I think what we didn't know at that time is the huge difference in rehab budgets between something that's 1940s, 50s, 60s block and something that's 1919.
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
Big difference.
We didn't really think of that.
So we had budgeted 70, 80 grand in rehab on this 2-1, 1,300 square foot block house.
And we're like, it's got a corner lot though.
Corner lot, nice deal. I mean, it was prime location, like right there in,
Avondale.
Avondale area.
Fairfax.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
It's amazing these things are still standing.
I know, right?
Dude.
And man, I tell you start ripping down the walls and you're just opening a whole can of worms, a whole can of worms. And our first contractor walked off the job.
It's actually funny. I was actually there doing the freaking
swinging hammers
at our first house that we ever bought. I was pulling the bathrooms apart with our GC, and he totally ditched
walked.
us.
I think his
That's crazy.
It was.
There was like some personal issue with his wife or something, and he just walked off the job.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now what do we do? So we start getting bids from other contractors to step in after we've already lost the first one and put money in, and they're going through this. All the walls are down, so now we're seeing all the problems, and it's like, okay, we're gonna have to be here to finish this out, and it's like, oh crap, we're gonna be way over. So from an expectation of 70 to 80, got all the way to 110. And that's a big jump.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. And we had originally expected to, be able to flip it and do well on it. But, after buying it for 195, putting another 110,000 plus closing costs into it to flip it. I mean, we even put it on the market just to see, hey, can we get more for it than we actually expected? We couldn't, which is why margin safety. We could have learned. It was a valuable lesson, but what we ended up doing is doing a 50% LTV refinance, putting a tenant in there, leaving a bunch of equity in, and it got appraised at 350. So we still have like 40 grand in equity in it, and we're gonna let it ride. So it would still win at the end of the day. We've got 40 grand in equity baked in. We ripped a little cash out. Tenants in there, it's cash flowing. We got 150 some odd grand to go put into another deal. But that's why in the early days, make sure you do your research, you run your numbers, get inspections, make sure you get your bids and full inspection reports, know exactly what you're getting into and get bids up front. especially on historic homes, and know what you're getting into, because you may end up in a scenario like that.
Yeah, maybe on your first one, do something that's a little bit older than 1980 or something. 1980 might be like your stop there. Don't go below
Don't
that.
go 1919.
Yeah, that's really far back.
Yeah.
No,
I thought because it was block that we wouldn't have as many issues, but it's still.
We go big or go home on the first one. We were,
I don't blame you guys. No, I mean, I don't. Hey, just starting out. I mean, I don't blame you guys, but it's crazy what you learn from these, right? Like, I see it in my business. You learn from the things that you don't ever want to take on ever again.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you see the ones that you're like, perfect. That's a hit. That's a hit. That's a hit. And then you stay there.
Yeah.
You know, and then everything else, you're like, oh yeah, we don't want to deal with that, so we'll find something else, right?
Exactly.
for sure.
So this is awesome, guys. I'm happy I got to see this side from you, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things I was able to see. You know, you're letting it out, right? About the journey you've been on, the experiences and the lessons you've learned along the way from this, right?
100%.
And I'll say this. So at the end of my show, I do these 3 signature questions. Okay. Kind of similar to what we've been going through, but really leaving it on that final note for some of this great advice that you've been giving a lot of people. And the first one I'd have to know is, a lot of people don't know where to go for mentorship. They don't know who to look to. They don't know who to talk to. Or sometimes they go to that one person. Who do you guys go to look for in that one person for mentorship?
I feel like I had a handful of people that I remember starting out, a guy by the name of Theo Folger was a really cool mentor of mine. He wasn't really a mentor. He was another agent that worked in my office, but I looked up to him because he closed so many deals, and he would always kind of give me, some advice here or there as an agent. As far as going to people for advice, I guess I go to my dad a lot. My dad is a real estate broker on Amelia Island, and he actually used to flip houses. And I go to my grandpa a lot for advice on certain things. And I guess in the business side of things, that's who I would go to. And then I also had
Mark.
Mark.
I mean, that's my dad and the president of Anabasis. I mean, that dude is just.
He's cut from a different cloth.
He's cut from a different cloth. He's just been through so much. He's seen so many different types of markets, so many different types of investments. He's so cautious and calculated, but he's also risk taking. He's like
a little bit of everything. And it's weird because it's
a great person to talk to if you have questions. But I think from somebody that's just getting started, I think that was kind of more the question. I would say find a small company, a small team that's really focused and tight knit, because I think that's where you're going to get the most one-on-one training. If you go to bigger, box brokerages and things like that, you kind of just, here's a training class here and there. Here's your system, get thrown in, figure it out, do your deals. And, that's where a lot of people in the beginning get their license and die on the vine. That's why there's such a big turnover rate of people that get their license and don't stay in the game.
We even go to a
team.
A team. And then we even go to advice with each other sometimes. Yeah. Hey man, what should I do with this? Or just get his opinion or input. We're always doing that. If I have a property that I think is a deal or someone, I want to hear everybody around me's opinions on why they do or they don't. And we criticize, we do constructive criticism toward each other on different deals and stuff, and that helps everybody.
We're always bouncing deals off of each other in the office. That's why I said it's good to be on a team. A good small family oriented really team. You know what I mean? Your team should feel like a family. You can just bounce stuff off of each other. It's not a competition. I'm going to outsell you. It's no, let's work on this together.
Right. Yeah. The collaboration is huge. And I love it. Whether it's family, friends, each other, that's a huge component. And it doesn't even have to be just starting out. There's some people that are in the game 5, 10, 15 years that are looking for that next thing, or really need, that feedback that they don't know where to go. They don't know that mentorship to lean on, because, it's not just about the courses and the coaches. Sometimes it's people that have been through the mud, the bad stuff.
Been through it.
Yeah, they've been through it. That have been drugged through it, and they want to know what's the whole thing about? How do we learn from these experiences? Right. That's really good for everybody to know. Let me ask you guys this thing. What I think everybody is seeking to get knowledgeable about something else they haven't learned yet or they want to know about, and they're working towards it. What do you guys want to learn more about with the real estate market or the real estate in general?
I mean, I think from an analysis standpoint, I'm pretty good. But when it comes to lead generation, I'm always trying new things and trying to innovate. Like, hey, like I talk about, try and fail. Does this work? Does this not work? Put into what works. Continually trying. I'd like to learn a little bit more about what you discussed, with getting in touch with people before they get the auction and being able to pull those records and information in a time frame to where it would give us an upper hand and strategy to be able to go after people that really need to move a property, and it's like they've been holding out, but now's the time. It's now or never, or else that property's gone. Hello, here's Anabasis. How can I help you?
What value can we bring to you?
There, exactly.
That's good.
I guess for me, it would be in real estate. So growing up, I was always addicted to like building blocks or Legos or just building stuff and like little houses. And as of lately, my family has 40 acres in Yulee, Florida, that could be plotted for ground up development of a neighborhood. So the past year, I've been trying to learn a little bit about development. I think it's a long shot and we're not there yet, but I think ground up development or multifamily development, or even development of a subdivision or a skyscraper. I don't know. I think that stuff's fascinating, but obviously there's a certain caliber you have to get to do that. But that's always been an interest of mine, is just ground up development or buildings of some sort.
That's gonna be cool.
I'm definitely interested in that too. Yeah. That's definitely a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, I love selling it. Don't get me wrong, but I think it would also be cool to, what if you built it and sell it? I don't know. That's just.
No, I mean, hey,
we may get there at some point.
We will get there.
Very interesting.
We will get there. We will get there. But that's the past year. I have felt myself trying to. I've gone on a handful of lunches with developers that have done a handful of neighborhoods, just picking their brains and stuff. That stuff fascinates me, and I'd love to learn more about it.
Yeah, there's always something that you want to learn more about, right? Whether it's in the business side, real estate, and I feel like for a lot of people that think that education stops at school, you have to continually educate yourself. There's always going to be something you got to learn from, or something you really want to tackle, whether it's in the next year or two. And learning these things is going to be really huge for you guys. So I can't wait to see you guys do that.
I appreciate it.
I will say, so if I've learned one thing about you guys, is that you guys have a plan. Anabasis has a plan, right? Whether it's the 1-year plan or the 10-year plan, there's a plan moving forward. And I feel like the final signature question I've been asking people lately that I don't know, it's something I want to know, is it's the what's next question, right? What's next for Anabasis? What's next for Bryce and Brylen?
I'll say where we're at right now. $8 million on the balance sheet. We have 63 units under management, and we have about 9 employees.
Yes.
And then take away the 10-year plan, Bryce.
So
we started with one house, me, Bryce, Mark, and Ernest.
Yes. So
that was 3 years ago.
Again, the original plan was, we created a 506c. We were raising capital from small investors, and we were going to, build this fund and, continue to build this private fund. And, what we found is that, dealing with, in the 506c realm, so many different investors and small amounts and things like that didn't really make sense. So now our 10-year plan is more, towards the capital markets. We want to continue to build our balance sheet, build our assets, show positive financials on our returns, and trust me, we're logging everything. Every quarter, I've got the bookkeepers, we've been audited, all the financials are sound, and we will continue to keep building on those and logging those for the future so that we can present our financials over time and how we've continued to grow and evolve and become a profitable REIT. But that's really the 10-year plan, is to eventually, grow the balance sheet big enough into the 20, 50 million, 100 million range, where we can go to the capital markets, take the stock public and be able to bring value not only to the properties that we develop, because we're increasing the value in the area, we're providing people with places to live, we're also bringing investment opportunities to investors that come into our fund, and we're building value long term in the share price and in the stock. So I would say 10-year plan is get to the capital markets. I want to ring that bell.
Yeah.
Very cool. I love it. You guys have the vision, and that's the thing. You're not just thinking about this year. You're thinking about what that looks like in 10 and making sure you get to that goal.
Well, that was never we started. That was the first thing I think we wrote down for.
Oh, I'm not giving up on
We're
that.
not giving up on it. I think we knew that's something we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But we're just dealing with all the stuff that comes in between.
Yeah, that's the vision board stuff right there. Just write it on the board and just keep looking at it, keep watching it. The goal's going to be there, and I love it. Guys, this has been awesome.
This has been fun.
Yeah, diving in on all this. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Fun. Having a podcast like this and bringing on guests like you, we learn so much, and people learn from these things. And you guys learn more about things that you haven't heard about. So that's what's so cool. And just want to say, thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. I'm also a huge fan of the show. I've been watching it I've been watching it before I even met you, actually.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I've known who you were before we met.
That's
and
crazy.
I like watching your stuff.
Thank
so
you.
It's been pretty cool to be here.
Same actually.
Thank
you. I knew who you were before we met as well.
So even like a year ago, I don't think we would have thought we'd.
No, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's
We
crazy.
appreciate it.
I love it.
No, thank you guys for
Yeah.
being, listeners, viewers. I mean, like that's what's so important about it for me is like it's not just having the show; it's trying to give back to you guys so you learn and see what everybody else is doing and all the different tips and tricks that you can learn from this. And but thank you guys, appreciate it.
Absolutely, thanks for having us.
No, of course, absolutely. As I do for any in-person guest, I have swag for you guys. Al Nicoletti Show swag. So
Let's get it.
First, I have the mugs.
Let's go.
Let's
Thank
do
you.
it.
Yes, there you go.
Drink.
And then we have the Al Nicoletti Show shirt. So you have the Al Nicoletti Show here, and then on the back.
Thank you.
I love that it's in the shape of a house.
Yeah. So that's for you.
Thank you, Al.
We designed the logos intentionally like that. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's the first logo, second logo. Oh, yeah.
I'm rocking this.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it.
Appreciate it, man.
Well, no, thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day. I know everybody's just crazy busy. Phone's blowing up, and it means a lot to me that you guys get to come out and do this. And I was so excited that we got to do it. So thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
As I do with all my guests, I do a segment at the end, final words, final thoughts. Any last parting advice that you want to provide anybody out there, that last piece that you think would be valuable? As I do, final words, final thoughts, Bryce and Brylen.
Put your trust in God.
Put your trust in God and never give up, because you will fail, but it's not the person that, fails or wins. It's the person that continually pushes towards their goal and never gives up no matter what.
Yep.
Love that. Guys, we're going to leave it right there. Brylen, thanks so much, Bryce. Thanks so much for coming, guys. So much fun, and we'll connect on everything you can imagine in real estate, and it'll be great to see your journey out there. So thanks, guys, for being on.
Thank you, brother.
All right, guys, another episode in the books. In the studio, if you missed any of that episode, all the amazing value that Bryce and Brylen were providing on the show, talking about their Anabasis, the realty side, the brokerage side, the capital side, and what they're doing as a team, what they're doing as a culture. If you missed any of that, go back, rewind, check that out, and you don't want to miss what they've talked about. And if you want more content of the Al Nicoletti Show, scan that QR code right at the right top right there, because that is going to get you to all the social platforms that you can find the show at. Don't want to miss it. We go live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And another one in the books. Thank you all for watching. We will see you next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.